If you were to drop a list of characters that have a really rough go of it in Immortal Empires, whose start position and opening moves are tenuous even in the best of circumstances, the Grimwarden Eltharion would have to be near the top of it. Stuck in the Badlands, outnumbered by hordes of orcs and goblins, while a giant BDSM demon threatens the northern borders of Total War, and yet more mushroom people swarm in from the south. But being High Elf Batman has its privileges. He has a really cool Batcave, and a really cool Batmobile named Stormwing, and today, Eltharion will try and do what he does best. Make Greenskins suffer. He's never been the best lord. Ironically, lore of high magic is on the weaker side, and he isn't a world beater unto himself, but it doesn't mean you should underestimate him either. A Griffon paired with magic and good combat stats cannot be ignored, and with self-heals and cheap spammable spells to continue proccing Shield of Sapphire, it can be difficult to make him go away. Plus, Fiery Convocation got buffed, and it can be kinda nasty to large battle lines, which the Greenskins are known for. High Elves are doing High Elf things this game. Combination of Rangers, Silvern Guard, Lothern Sea Guard, and a smattering of elites. This time all the way on the left flank, looking at the Swordmasters of Hoeth, who have been eternally in that awkward spot where they're really good at their job, but that job is one that often isn't needed, except against a handful of factions like maybe Dwarfs or Chaos. It might be useful this battle though. A lot of Black Orcs and high HP infantry on the other side. 14 bonus versus infantry is great for cutting through, gives them 68 melee attack, so blending elite foot troops is a role they are exceedingly good at, especially while martial mastery is active. 4 Illyrian Reaver archers, somewhat large investment here, but Greenskins themselves are well known for utilizing skirmish cav, and Illyrian Reavers are better than them in pretty much almost every way. They're just a lot more expensive. And Grimgor Ironhide leads a marauding horde of immortals, and like Leonidas and his 300, the elves will put that name to the test. 3 black orcs, 2 big uns, bunch of squig herd, and an orc shaman of the big Wa on a war boar. There we go. Brain Bursta, Edbutt, and Gaze of Mork. A lot of wolf riders too, some skirmishers and some as melee troops. Vanguard deployed behind enemy lines for those sneaky ambushes for Mork. Grimgor himself, you know what he's all about, has an unfortunate complexion issue at the moment, makes him look like Shrek. Not the first time this has happened to the poor lad, turning fluorescent green, and I guess the world is gonna roll him. He ain't the sharpest tool in the shed. He will beat the brakes off Eltharion in a straight fight, but he can't heal himself. Can't run away, can't cast magic, or cause terror, so all's fair in love and war. I now really want a fanfic about love blooming on the battlefield between Grimgor and Eltharion. I ship that. I think we can make that work. So, opening stages here, if you're the High Elves of Total War, want to assert that dominance in the skirmish phase. They won't have free reign, they'll still be kept in check by wolf riders, but both Squig Herd and Big Uns are good targets to whittle down. Don't have a lot of armor, you can make Squig Herd rampage and suicide themselves. Gonna be in pretty good shape in the opening stages here. Asur should be in zero rush to get into melee. As we know, the Greenskins hit well above their weight class via the WAAAGH mechanic, makes even their lower tier units dangerous while active, so the elves will try and keep their distance, try to cause some rampages and HP loss against select targets, but Wolf Riders Vanguard in the back of the map, they have sprung their ambush here. Not a whole lot of support for it, some decent focus fire coming in from the other Wolf Riders, but Illyrian Reavers are actually better than Wolf Riders in melee, as you saw there. They got the clean charge off, they were able to overpower them quite quickly. They'll be healed up by an Apotheosis. Meanwhile, Squig Herd already forced to rampage on the other side. It is typically a good idea, even though Squig Herd are not expensive. You want them behind your infantry and out of range of focus fire for exactly that reason. They are typically not the unit you want to have just sent directly in front. If they're combined with infantry, much like monster infantry, they are going to perform better. You will get more utility and value out of them in that manner. Greenskins are looking very strong in the center, but maybe a little bit too strong. That is 4 or 5 units, including Grimgor Ironhide, all tied up on a single Silvern Guard. So look to spread out a little bit more, surround them, go past them. Don't need that many units engaged at once. Eltharion has activated Hand of Glory and his Fang Sword of Eltharion, going directly after the Orc Shaman on the War Boar, who will wisely seek to retreat. And the Swordmasters of Hoeth are also getting the engagement they want, going straight in against the Black Orcs, and they got a clean charge off there as well. See, the Black Orcs are already down about a quarter of their HP, with Eltharion the Grim and Stormwing swooping in like an AC 130 from behind, about to hit the Greenskin battle line with a 150mm gun run. Black Orcs, of course, aren't immune to psychology. They will ignore terror from the Griffon, but they cannot ignore a great sword slicing through their ranks. They will need magical support or they will fold on the right side. Elsewhere, the hot gates, boys in back scream forward. Boys in front scream back. Silver Guard putting in work. Should handle Orc boys quite easily here, unless there's some friendly fire, which might just come in the form of that fiery convocation. It has a long active streak that continues well past the initial target. Not uncommon to see it pound your own units a couple hundred meters away. That is exactly what is going to happen here. In that first fight where it will initially fall, it's going to actually pound those Greenskins and make them wish they'd never been born. Kill 30 or 40, deal tons of HP damage to a lot of really high HP stuff. We saw the Silver Guard get tagged there at the end. There was some friendly fire there, but I do believe Silver Guard have magic resist. So it could have been a hell of a lot worse. WAAAGH has been activated map-wide for the Greenskins. It means charge bonus, melee attack. Black Orcs are going to be hitting a lot harder, but they have not been getting the magical support they need here to deal with the Swordmasters. And when we factor in stuff like Apotheosis and Hand of Glory, that will really put these Swordmasters over the edge in terms of their martial mastery. And they're just going to slaughter those poor Black Orcs. Now, there are still 2 others remaining, so if you lose one, not the biggest deal in the world, but you cannot keep giving those Swordmasters the engagements they want, because they will make you pay if you don't have offensive magic. And the Greenskins are more focused on the buffs here than anything that can deal with them. No Foot of Gork, nothing to outright delete them from the game. It's actually why you don't see elite, heavily armored infantry all that often, at least not amongst the elves. Their discipline is so often their downfall. Tight formations, low HP pools, perfect targets for spells like Foot of Gork, Pit of Shades, Pendulum, Pain. You'll know the drill. Making good account of themselves so far, though. High Elf backline is still online and looking entirely self-sufficient at the moment. Lothar and Seaguard are continuing to fire, and combined with the Illyrian Reaver Archer fire pouring in from the other side, who maneuvered all the way behind the Greenskins back line, that's going to be a pretty nasty crisscross fire to be stuck in the middle of, and we're seeing a lot of the Squig Herd and Black Orcs feel those effects. Grimgor and company crumped the center, but now they have to deal with those Swordmasters of Hoeth, while Lothar and Seaguard fire continues to pour in to the relatively low armor of these Orc boys and Big Guns. Black Orcs still online, and they are chopping through these High Elf Rangers. They should have not too much issue dealing with them. Rangers will have difficulty cutting through their 120 armor, but Eltharion is on the prowl above on Stormwing. Black Orcs have pushed through and are dealing with the Lothar and Seaguard and have dropped them to about 1/3 their original health pool. Eltharion is in no rush at the moment. He can float on the ether above, pretty much ignore Gaze of Mork, which is not a very good magic missile spell. Vindictive Glare is actually a much better one. And meanwhile, he can just continue popping Apotheosis to get him healed up for that inevitable duel with Grimgor, while Headbutt rains down from the Orc Shaman, trying to get these freakish Zweihander troops off all the elite infantry for the Greenskins. Big Guns and Black Orcs just falling in torrents of blood as those great swords find their mark, and they will continue chopping and slicing and teaching the Greenskins how melee combat is supposed to function. They have been supported really well thus far. I believe they've gotten 2 Apotheosis and a Hand of Glory sent their way, and the Greenskins have not had that same benefit from Ere We Go or Fists of Gork. No Fists of Gork was forthcoming in this battle at all. Would have actually probably been a really useful spell to help deal with the Swordmasters in melee. Black Orcs have somewhat middling stats for an elite infantry unit. They just have really high HP, really high armor, and a ton of ways to buff them up. But if you forget to buff them, they are not going to outperform Swordmasters of Hoeth in any way, shape, or form. Here comes Eltharion the Grim, bringing the hurricane upon his Griffon, and he just sends a whole horde of Greenskins flying, and they will rout. Terror routes imminent on this side. The WAAAGH will need to consolidate their forces and get around Grimgor, and ideally get inside the forest for a couple of reasons. The big one is to avoid all this incoming fire from the Lothar and Seaguard and Illyrian Reaver archers that are still intact. But another reason is to make Eltharion a little bit less effective when he's fighting in and amongst the woods. We're going to see another Gaze of Mork here. Don't believe that was overcast. Didn't deal a whole lot of damage. I've always been kind of underwhelmed by the magic missile play of the lore of the Big WAAAGH. Lil WAAAGH is better for that kind of thing, but of course they have other insanely crazy spells like Foot of Gork Headbutt has also been one of those kind of underwhelming spells, but not a particularly expensive one in terms of Winds of Magic. Orc Shaman and Grimgor fighting back-to-back with WAAAGH active for the second time this battle. They are running out of bodies here. It looks like a lot of the Greenskins infantry has routed off. Balance Bar's not heavily in favor of the High Elves, but I think that value is kind of artificially inflated because Grimgor just hits like a Mack truck. And if Eltharion was to just stay in melee here while your next is active on him, it could get pretty ugly. I do think Grimgor, straight up 1v1, both of them being full HP, would beat the brakes off Eltharion in an engagement, but he's on a Griffon. He has no reason to stay there. He can cycle charge all day long, and anytime he gets low, he can run away, pop himself on Apotheosis 5 or 6 times, and then go back in, and he'll at least get back to half HP, no issue at all. So while that Orc Shaman is routing, Eltharion will turn his attention to the Warboard because he wants a little bit of bacon for breakfast. Grimgor will, of course, run into the issue that he so often does. He's on foot, surrounded by enemy infantry and cav, pinning him in place, and you'll just have to fight it out and can't get on top of the targets he wants to. If he could get near Eltharion and Stormwing, he could generate a crazy amount of value quite quickly, but that will not be the case here. Eltharion ensuring there will be no more magic for the WAAAGH this battle, and with that gorgeous background, Knight's Viewpoint, Bretonnian Hillside, sun setting low in the sky, Eltharion will return and look for that final duel with Grimgor Ironhide, who's, I mean, the dude literally looks like Shrek right now. Like, I don't know why, this is the second or third time this visual bug has happened. He's not supposed to look that green. Yes, I get their greenskins. They're not supposed to be fluorescent. They're not supposed to look like Michael Myers. I have heard Shrek 5 is coming, which is pretty exciting. I really like those movies. But yeah, Eltharion popping Hand of Glory going in, and this should be a rout imminent for the Greenskins. Balance Bar shifting heavily in favor of the Elves of Tori Yvresse, and they really countered the Greenskins in pretty much every single facet from the word go. It was just a solid build here. Eltharion Reaver Archers to counter the Squig Herd and Wolf Riders, of which we saw quite a few. There were 2 regular Wolf Riders, 2 Skirmishers on top of that. As I've said before, pretty common for the Greenskins to bring 4 or 5, even 6 of those light cavalry units, some with skirmish potential, some with the armor piercing, some with the poison, just to get a nice mix. And I mean, we've already seen so many times how effective skirmish cavalry can be. So summoning that dominance early, the Eltharion Reaver Archers worked out quite well. Swordmasters hard countered the Black Orcs and Big Guns this game. Eltharion, nothing crazy in terms of damage value, around 2,000, but definitely made his impact felt with a Fiery Convocation and with the support for the Swordmasters, who would not have performed quite so well against Black Orcs without those Hands of Glories and Apotheosis heals. Rangers, of course, always going to be useful against factions like Beastmen, Greenskins, and Skaven. Cheap bonus versus infantry. One of the only things on the High Elves roster that isn't just prohibitively expensive. But yeah, on the Greenskins side, Grimgor did what he could, but we have seen his limitations many times in the past. Really good Lord when he is able to hit the things that he needs to hit. And with that lack of mobility, lack of mass, it can be hard for him to get on target. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you all in the next one.